lovely. This looks like we should be planting something. So I think we shall. Let's do a test overnight. Let's put the thermometer, the data logger thermometer inside this area, and I'll put the cover on this little mini hoop, and we'll see what happens overnight. It's minus, I think it's minus 12 right now, so it should be, what, probably minus 20 overnight. So let's see how low it goes. Gave everything a good soak this morning. Needed it. Don't these onions look great? Very happy with that. And the peppers, these are the right on the red peppers. Look, they have their first true leaves already. I could even pot these up if I had nothing better to do. Jalapenos are looking a little slow. So it's Sunday afternoon and I'm back in the hoop house and it's very, very sunny. So pardon me if I squint a little bit. It's been very cold. It was, I think, about minus 18 last night and it was minus 12 still this morning. It's, I think, around minus 8 right now, but it's very, very sunny. It's lovely. The best thing about this low temperatures all the way through March is that we've been getting a really slow melt. I think we all appreciate that whatever snow that we got this year, we're going to get to keep it all if it just melts nice and slow and just runs off into all of our sloughs and fills them back up again. Earlier I had a clip where I was digging in the north side of the hoop house. The soil is very, very loose. It's very dry, but it's so warm. I dug my hands down into it and it was noticeably nice and warm. Now, that may have been because it was afternoon, so it absorbed the heat of the day, but I like to think it is also because there's some heat being funneled underneath it with our heat tubes. So in that clip where I was digging, I was using a knife, a big kitchen knife. Does anybody else use a kitchen knife to dig in the garden? I only use the dull ones. I mean, I don't use the good ones, but darn it, it's a really helpful tool. So I have a plan. I know I'm jumping the season, but I can't help it. I am going to start some things in the north side bed. So this is what we're going to plant today. I've got some greens mix. This is a really old package of seeds. So old that the color has faded. So we'll sow them thickly, thinking that it's not going to do very well. I've got some spinach. The variety is called Space. I haven't used those before. I need some cilantro. No special variety. And I think, I can't decide whether I'm going to do bok choy or just Asian greens. I think I have more of the greens. Oh, but I have more bok choy inside the house. We're going to do the bok choy. And George's favorite, radishes. I like the French breakfast. They're a little bit longer, so you need to have nice friable soil for them to grow as long as they want to, but they're very yummy. And I have one special experiment that I want to try. I've never done this before. I went down into the cellar where the onions are stored and I picked through and I found the smallest, most useless ones. And I'm going to plant them as sets. They have already started to sprout. And I've already dropped them on the ground. They have already started to sprout, so I know that they're happy and they want to grow. So we're going to plant them out here. They're a mixture of some of the Superstar white onions and the keepers that I grew last year, the long seasons, and those are Cortland. But they're also small. I'm not going to eat them, so I might as well plant them. I made sure I came out earlier today and gave this a really good soak. I think I mentioned that the soil was really quite dry, which makes sense. It gets the full sun. And I hadn't watered it since the fall. I did notice, oh, I can't tell you about that. That's next week's experiment. I'll tell you about that later. I'll just get to planting. As I'm planting, there's one thing that I remember from last year now, is that this is soil that I really have not done much work to, so there isn't a lot of nutrition in there. Certainly no layer of compost like I would like to have. It's a little bit clayey too. I remember that when I had to dig through it to dig this darn trench. So I won't expect an awful lot out of this planting, and that's okay. It's all just an experiment. I don't think I have anything interesting to add here in terms of how to. Probably the only thing that I consciously do is I try to plant a green next to a root, next to a green, next to a root, so the onions and the radish are in between the spinach and the lettuces. And I try to keep the cats out from. So did I tell you about the numbers so far? The numbers that I recorded on the data logger over the past week. The temperature never went below -5, even though it definitely was below -10, if not -20 most nights this week. And there's very much a correlation between how much sun the day before to how much above the outside temperature it stayed in here. I should see if I can pop in a graph. It's only been 1 week, so it's hardly conclusive, but it is very interesting that the days where it reached higher temperatures, I'm presuming it was able to store more heat and release the heat overnight, keeping this enclosed area from going as cold as it was outside. So I think on that, I'll close off for this week. I have something special planned for next week, another heating experiment that I've been working on and have seen some interesting results that I'm looking forward to sharing. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming by.